A quorum being present, the special town meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, has the warrant been properly posted as required by the general laws of the town of Granby?
Yes, it has.
Select Board Chairman, Mr. Sexton, will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sitting in front tonight at this special town meeting is the Finance Committee, the Town Clerk directly behind me, the Town Attorney, the Town Administrator, and the Select Board. As usual, I will quickly go through tonight's procedure. If you are voting tonight, you must be seated either on the floor or on the bleachers in order for your vote to count. There are enough seats here for over 500 people, so please find a seat if you intend your vote to be counted. If you would like to comment or discuss an article as moved, please raise your hand so that I can recognize you. Wait for the mic runner to come to you and state your name and address. You're allowed to ask one question at a time at the mic. Please do not direct a comment or question to a particular member at town meeting. Direct your discussion and your comments to me, and I will direct your question to the appropriate individual. All questions or comments must pertain to the article on the warrant. We limit the discussion and the questions to the subject matter on the warrant because the warrant is what the public is warned of, the content of the meeting. If you ask a question or make a comment that is outside the scope of the warrant, I will declare it out of order and it will not be answered by the forum. In your handouts that you were given tonight, you have the article and the motion, a Granby Town Meeting brochure, which is the orange brochure, which talks to you about town meeting procedure, and you have an amendment worksheet, which explains how to amend a motion and write your amendment. If you are a non-resident or a non-voter, please sit in the designated area, which is to your left in the back. Lastly, in the interest of transparency, I would like to read a conflict of interest statement for me. As the currently elected town moderator of Granby, I am informing you that I'm also the chairperson of the West Street Building Committee. A special town meeting has been called for tonight regarding expending $5,328,868 more or less for the purpose of funding the renovation of the West Street building, which is the former West Street Elementary School, for municipal offices, a senior center, and additional future programs at that site, or to take any other action in regard thereto. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, I am providing you with notice that no conflict of interest exists and that I can moderate this meeting. Neither I nor any member of my immediate family have any financial interest in the outcome of this article. Furthermore, I have checked with our town attorney, Mr. O'Toole, who has assured me that no conflict of interest exists if I moderate this special town meeting. As such, I am confident that I can exercise my duties as moderator as fair and impartial. Thank you. The moderator now recognizes Ms. Turgeon to present the motion under Article 1.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I move the town vote to transfer from available funds as followed. ARPA funds, $1,880,422.88. Act 1, account 01-122-5301, art stem of December, no, it's going to be 12/19/17, number 3, WSS engineering study. Account 01-122. Oh, sorry. The amount of the engineering study is $783.76. The account 01-122-5802, art stem 10/29/19, number 08, EV charges $6,290.36. Account 01-1455793, art ATM 061019, number 17, bonds costs at $100,000. Account 01-192-5814, art ATM 050922, number 04, high school gym and locker rooms, $1,337,414. Account 30192-5801, art ATM 072520, number 13, mower, $424.72. Account 30-192-5802, art ATM 072520, number 14, transmit, $3,680.70. Account 30192-5812, art ATM 051407, number 35, the WSS roof replacement, $11,071.74. Account number 30192-5814, art ATM 061311, number 23, East Meadow roof, $76,273.24. Account 3005301, art STM 093013, number 01, WSS Felicity Studies at $156,997.92. Account 3005801, art ATM 061713, in-ground oil tank replacement, $137,280. Account 3005803, art STM 020816, number 02, elementary school, $2 million. For a total of $5,686,639.32 for the proposal of funding the renovation of the West Street building, formerly the West Street Elementary School, for municipal offices, senior center, and additional future programs at the site.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so Micheline's going to discuss this. Then Finance Committee, John Libero will come up and give you discussion, and then I will open it to the floor for discussion.
As you guys know, I was already introduced. I'm Micheline Turner, a member of the West Street Building Committee. I'm here to give you some information on the project, so you have a better understanding of why we need it, where the funds is coming from, and the future growth of the town. So how this project started up. Back in August of 2022, a group of concerned citizens went to the Board of Selectmen and asked them to revisit and to move forward the potential use of the existing West Street School building. We were proposing that the Select Board consider fulfilling the recommendations made back in 2018 from the first West Street School Building Committee, which was to build 2 new buildings, one for the town offices and 2 for COA, Council of Aging. If they decide not to go with two new buildings, would they consider renovating West Street School and using it as a site for town offices and COA? The potential future of this building was last studied in 2018, at which time the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen was to take down the existing structure and build two new town buildings in phases. Phase 1 would be Town Hall, and Phase 2, Council of Aging. The Board of Selectmen at that time unanimously accepted the recommendation of the committee. However, the town took no further action on completing this project. So from that point on, the approximately 44,000 square feet West Street building mostly remained vacant for some time. It currently used as a storage facility for the town records and miscellaneous equipment. The town maintenance department is currently operating in and out of the building and maintaining maintenance to the building to prevent pipe burst, moisture buildup, and any other conditions found. The town continues insuring yearly at approximately $23,000 per year. The building must be maintained or the insurance coverage will double. However, if we continue leaving the building mostly unoccupied, it could create problems. It is an invitation adding maintenance issues and vandalism, in addition to create an attractive nuisance, and which could result in potential liability for the town. The bottom line for this committee was to develop options regarding to the building and the cost estimate for each option. However, we did not have a benefit of appropriations to get definite numbers or complete a study, but the committee was asked to do these items. Determine size footage needed for town space and record storage. Review the 2018 West Street School and reuse the committee report. Review building original blueprint and tour the building for current conditions. Regarding space requirement, the committee contacted each town department and COA and inquired about current needs. The proposed space required for all came to a little over 16,054 square feet of space, which includes storage needs. Our committee then looked at the same options that the 2018 Building Reuse Committee looked at: building new, abatement, demolition, and renovation. Building new. We first asked the architect from the 2018 study to give us an update price for the building that was proposed in 2018. That study proposed demolishing existing building and building two new buildings, a totaling of 11,452 square feet, approximately 5,000 square feet for each building, which is actually smaller than the required space proposed of all offices currently. Also, at that time, those buildings were sized smaller to keep it under, at that time, current fire safety codes that would require installation of fire safety sprinkler suppression system. The cost of the two buildings, new in 2018, was a little more than $3.4 million. The architect stated to increase the 2018 cost by at least 60 to 65% for today's costs. That wouldn't include the cost of design, engineering, printing, advertising, and construction testing, etc. So, addressing and using the architect's advice and adding in soft costs, the committee increased the percentage to 70% to be safe and estimate if we were to build two new buildings at the suggested total footage of 11,452 square feet. That cost would be approximately $7,655,000. But with the update regulations, just informing you that we do know now that the cost would increase for each building because a fire safety suppression system must be designed. Persistent to our fire chief and the state, who is requiring us to install all suppression systems regardless of building size because protecting government documents and public use. Demolition and abatement costs. To determine the cost of abating and demolishing the building, the committee contacted two vendors to estimate current cost. The estimate costs are, at a minimum, $1 million. It's $750,000 just for asbestos abatement and $550,000 for demolition. This quote, however, does not include costs associated with universal waste, hazardous waste, backfill underground oil tank issues, temporary fencing, or utilities disconnection. An appropriate estimate to include these costs, this would bring up to approximately $2 million or more. 2018, just to give you an idea of the committee, quoted for demolition and removal of the building in 2018 came in at only $890,000. Renovation. As our committee pursued the idea of renovating the building, we had many companies come in and revisit and advise us of the current conditions of the building. We had Associated Building Records, Michael Finney, Director of Indoor Air Quality Program of the Massachusetts Department of Health, Fire Tech Inc., La Framboise Water and Service Inc. The companies were extremely pleased with the structure of this building, even with some age. It still had a lot of life left in it. Of course, windows, doors would be completely replaced, all hazards would be removed, updated heating system, and cosmetics. It became clear that a complete renovation would not be required. As the structure of the building was sound and the roof relatively new, the existing 44,000 square feet of space is more than adequate for town needs. Can I just, here, take a drive. I wrote a lot. Thank you. There is plenty of space for all town offices and storage, according to the senior, accommodating the senior center and all of their needs. We have room for additional office space as needed and as we grow. For example, we now need space for conservation agent, veteran service officer, town accountant, and a town planner. With this additional space, we would be able to conduct town elections, town meetings, and it has the potential for a community rec center for teens, local organizations, and town members. The Massachusetts Department of Health walked through the building, testing the air quality and looking for environmental concerns. The report confirmed there is no evidence of mold and the building is structurally sound. There were some issues related to moisture in the building, but that could be improved by removing landscape near the building, updating the HVAC system equipment, adapting a system for the expected new occupancy, and storage of material. We were told that the landscape was already addressed by the town maintenance department, so that's taken care of. The committee then contacted several firms and individuals for the estimate of soft renovation. The estimate of those estimates from those firms are in the flyer. It's handed to you guys. I'm reading a lot, that's why I just With those estimates, the committee has determined that the building being renovated approximately $5.7 million, which I addressed already as $5,686,639.32. With that recommendation in mind, the town administrator and the finance committee has suggested the town fund the renovation with available dollars from several funds already appropriated. No property tax override will be required. Your taxes will not increase due to this project. The funds that we're going over are like the ARPA funds, unspent prior general fund articles, unspent prior capital project articles. So then why did the school leave if the building's still in nice condition? If the building was still in good condition, but the problem is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education would not give her certificate of education for this building. Then why don't we sell the property? 2018, the committee had a commercial appraiser indicate there was no to little market value due to the building abatement issues, hazards, lack of town sewage, water, and gas. The amount of similar vacant properties are already in the real estate market. Why not give the funds to the high school? Spending more than 30% of the value of the building is the issue. The school department is awaiting the opening and awarding the bid on the high school kitchen renovation. So that project will move forward. There is an expenditure cap of 3 years time frame from when the project is completed. The concern lies with other upgrades and exceeding more than 30% value of the building. It will require a complete ADA renovation. If any other improvements were made between the projected completion of the kitchen renovation in October of 2024 until October of 2027, it will trigger the 30% value of the building. The assessment of the partial value. So the land and the building, the value is $4,184,600. The land value is $652,200. So we'll be using the value of the building only with $3,532,400. So basically anything over $1,059,720 will trigger the required ADA compliance under the CMR 521 Architectural Access Code. Addressing oil tank. We are aware that there is information in the public about the oil tank at West Street building. So we want to bring this to the forefront and clarify a few things. The single wall underground oil tank is required by the DEP to be removed for all commercial buildings. West Street School building is listed as a commercial building. It was required to be removed about 2010, but it never, regardless of who, what, when, or why it wasn't done, it does not matter. The town is still responsible for the removal of the oil tank. No matter the outcome of the project or the property, the tank must be removed, bottom line. So then, what's the benefit cost? What's the additional savings the town would have by doing this? Currently, the town maintains 3 buildings. The annex building, the old telephone company at the top of the hill where you pay your taxes, COA, the Council of Aging at 10 West State Street, and Carnegie Hall, the old library. The town currently leases the annex building for approximately $26,000 a year plus maintaining the property. That would no longer have to be done. An additional safety factor with that building is the dangerous entering and exiting of the property onto a 202 on a bad curve would be eliminated. COA could be sold and then returned to taxes again and adding to our tax revenue. Carnegie Hall was donated to the town, so further discussion will be needed for this property. But currently, the maintenance offices are in the building. Conservation works, has meetings, and uses it for storage. So also with a decrease in maintenance, plowing, cleaning up 3 additional buildings would be reduced to 1 building. Having less wear and tear on equipment, also we will be paying just for 1 building for heat, not 3. Required building size. Currently, the department are requesting a total of 16,054 square feet. The request from 2018's new building size would be 11,452 square feet. West Street School has 44,000 square feet, more than double the space required. Question, why now? The annex building owner is looking to sell, the building and end the lease. Those offices will be closing their space in about 18 months. If we do not do anything, where will they go? Where would there be enough room or space to conduct business? And if we could find something. So we need to look for 4 additional office spaces. And just to bring about, stated at almost every town meeting, the town people complain nothing gets done. There's always a delay. We as a town always do studies again. We need a plan for our future and stop kicking the can down the road. Now, this is the first step towards our future. Future ideas. If we want to apply for grants to help us with the renovation, we need to approve of the funds first in order for us to be considered for grants. An additional thought, the possibility of getting a solar field to help with the offset of electrical in the building. And the possibilities of after-school programs. So in closing, it is our opinion that this project will present the town with a building that is completely free of hazardous material, capable of housing all existing offices, storage of all documents and records in one location, capability of housing additional office space for town growth, capable of conducting town elections and town meetings, providing a safe location for seniors and all their needs, making it easier for companies and contractors to conduct business in town. And eventually, the building could also become a community center, the location of a teen center, recreation center for the town, the location where local organizations can meet, and hold local community-wide events. Thank you. Thank you.
The moderator will now call on Mr. Libera of the Finance Committee to speak.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Can you hear me? This is one of the most interesting articles that I think I've seen on all the town meetings that I've been to. It looks like it's a simple thing. Let's renovate the old West Street School. But actually, this is at least 4 different projects which could be brought up to the town as things that need to be done, and they've managed to wrap everything up into one bundle. What needs to be done? Well, you heard Micheline talk about the oil tank at West Street School. That absolutely needs to be replaced. Apparently, it's needed to be replaced for 13 years, and we had voted some number of years ago for a project to do it. Its situation is that they don't even know whether or not there is leakage in that tank. Everybody hopes that there isn't, and the price that's in here for this piece of the project is really assuming that the tank is in good enough shape that you don't have to do remediation of the land around it. But the first thing they're going to do before they do anything else is start drilling holes around to find out whether or not there's been any leakage from that tank. If fingers are crossed and things work out, there won't be any. If there is, it's going to cost a lot more money than is in here. So much more money, in fact, that the whole project would be at risk. And that's been said at the information meeting before, that if the oil tank has severe problems that takes a large amount of money, then there will not be enough money in this project voted tonight in order to do this project. So we're hoping that that doesn't happen. But nevertheless, the first thing that has to happen is the remediation of this oil tank. So think of that as one project. Second project is that, as Micheline also mentioned, in some relatively short amount of time, particularly in construction years, we're going to have to find a place to put all the offices that are in the annex. That's not going to be easy. I mean, you just think about this for a minute. We've had a number of years since we lost Kellogg Hall, and what have we done? We've continued to have these 2 different offices in 2 different places. You try to go in different places, particularly to pay your taxes, and you know what it's like with the traffic, getting in and out of that. If you want any real professional opinion, ask the police chief to tell you about those intersections. So that would be a separate project, and that is a project which, again, cannot be put off too long. We've got to find a place for those offices. The people who own the building do not want to rent it anymore. They're trying to sell it. We don't want to buy it because, as I've said, you've tried to get in and out of there, and that's not a place that you want to have to do business for a long term. So that could be a whole separate project that we'd be looking at. Third is the consolidation of the offices into one place. Is it easy to do business in Granby? I don't think so. Even just as a normal citizen trying to do things that you would want to have done, to find the different places to go to do it. And again, we've been looking at this for so many years. You would think that a small town would find it easy because the offices are small, the number of people is small compared to large towns, to put everybody together. We haven't been able to do that. Here's the opportunity once more to try to consolidate the offices. The other thing interesting from the Finance Committee point of view is that if you notice where the funding is coming from, there are a whole bunch of projects which were finished sometimes years ago, and there's bits and pieces of money, sometimes big, sometimes small, left over. The idea of consolidating all of those into one place so you know exactly how much money is available for some projects is good. Plus, I find it interesting that given that their amount of money is there in those projects to be closed out, that a building could be renovated exactly for that amount of money, give or take. But with the idea that that's the ballpark for the amount of money that it would take to do. We're starting with how much funds are available, and then from there proceeding to build, rather than saying, let's start from scratch and put up everything we want into a building and see what it costs. Well, we know what that is. Sometimes that costs a lot more money. So that this is, from a point of view of fiscal responsibility, to solve some major problems for us. I think it is very, very good. So all those things putting together. Oh, and by the way, one more thing on the price of this building, of this cost of the project. You may have gathered from what Micheline said that they were working on a shoestring to put together this project and the cost. There was no money available to get official estimates, no money available to hire professional people to come in and design some things. All that is part of what the project is. After the project gets started and you get some real design work done and some real estimates of what has to be done in cost, there is undoubtedly going to be some grants available. And it's not, Finance Committee is not to answer that question, but I'm sure if you ask anybody on the committee, they'll be able to tell you where they think some possibilities are. So that there's a really good chance that we're still going to be able to have a little bit of savings left over when we do all these projects. But you put all these things together, and this looks like a wonderful thing for Granby, and it's an opportunity which I would hate to see us pass by. So with that, thank you for listening to me.
The moderator will now open up discussion to the floor. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Gentleman up on the bleachers, wait till the mic will come to you.
So my question, Mike Slater, 191 School Street, Granby. My question is in regards to the $1.337,414. So that was approved in the 2002 town, or 2022 town meeting for the high school and gym locker room upgrade. So have we done that? Because according to the notes from that meeting, the gymnasium currently lacks the proper airflow and, hold on, I gotta scroll over. Circulation for safe occupancy of the space. The space is most heavily used in all spaces in the school district. And additionally, the high school is also the designated emergency shelter. With designation, the school must be equipped with functioning showers. Currently, the locker rooms don't have those. So that 1.3 million, have we done, like, is the school safe? Is that been accomplished?
Mike, let me answer the question. It's a two-part question. At that same meeting is where they approved the kitchen renovations that they said they needed because currently they're not able to use the kitchen in the high school to prepare meals. As part of those two articles, there was a subcommittee that was formed by the chair of the selectmen and chair of the finance committee. When they reviewed the two projects, they ran into that issue of 30% of the full and fair cash value of the building, which would trigger the Architect Access Board regulations, okay? They went forward with the kitchen project of $1,050,000. If you remember when Micheline was reading, based upon the full and fair cash value, 30% is about $1,059,000 and change. So in order to do that second project, we would have to address the current ADA issues and bring it up to code. We don't know what the issues are, and we don't know the price tag attached to that. So before we could go and do another large capital project at the high school, we would have to address the ADA material first. Either that or wait 3 years until the kitchen renovations are off the books. If we wait 3 years, that price isn't going to be any good because of inflation. The other issue is we don't know what the ADA issues are. We would rather address those first and then bring the gym and locker room back once those are addressed. We think that's the better way to address this issue.
Thank you. Further questions?
Could I ask an add-on?
Can you what?
Ask an add-on, are you saying that basically our student athletes, if they play sports games, they have no showers? Is that what the point is? Do we have showers at work now? Okay. My question is, based on the comment over here by Mike, based on the comment over here, I'm just curious, are our showers not working, or are they currently working for our athletes? So that when we have basketball games, an away team and our team can shower after the game or after sporting events, or do we not have showers anymore?
Can you please state your name and address?
Joseph Fernia, 154 Taylor Street, Granby.
You can't address that?
Crystal Dufresne, 11 Taylor Street, so I can answer that. We do not have working showers at the high school. The tile and everything is in disarray. The kids have not showered for years. They didn't shower when I went there. They didn't shower when Rick went there. So the kids don't shower after games.
Further questions? You got to raise your hand high so I can see you. Right here, and the bleachers. Go ahead, stand up.
Lisa Petralia, 6 Common Street. I filled out the amendment worksheet. Do I read my suggestion and see whether it has any traction?
Sure.
Okay. So in reference to Article 1, I move to amend the main motion. I'd like everything deleted for the financing except the ARPA funds of $1.88 million. And I'd like to delete the description of the purpose for which the original amount was going to be used and replace it with, for the purposes of dealing with retiring the underground oil tank, and if money is left, also hire, and if it's environmentally safe, hire a designer to present schematics for the public to see for what the new space could look like, and then call us back for a second town meeting to vote the balance of funds to do the renovation.
All right, 1 second, please, Lisa. Oh. I need to see the amendment also. Sure. So this part is wrong.
Yeah.
So I have to rule this amendment outside the scope of the warrant. You are describing a project that the town has not been warned on. It's outside the description, so we can't accept this amendment.
Just say that this is 4 projects. The first one.
Can you wait for the mic to come?
Didn't the chairman of the finance committee, John Libera, just say we're being presented with a unique warrant and motion tonight? It's 4 projects wrapped into the whole amount, and the first one is an oil tank removal as a priority.
But you're changing the whole scope of the project, which is renovating the school, to simply dealing with a underground oil tank.
For a lesser amount of money, yes. And then if that's
So that
safe.
would need to be called at a different town meeting.
Okay.
When I said that this was a number of projects wrapped in together, that does not mean that this article is 4 different projects. This article is one project that is a result of 4 things which could have been separate projects but isn't. So we don't have those different things to vote on. We only have the one project to vote on.
More questions? We'll do it at the floor right now. Right here, sir.
Robert Mikulicek, Amherst Street, Granby. The only question I have is the kitchen in the elementary school, I still call it, was that figured in on being renovated also? Which would be good for the, the senior center.
Yes, it was.
Good, thank you.
Over here to the right on the bleachers.
Heather House, 544 East State Street. Are there other items on this list that have not been completed, or are all, other than the gym, are they all leftover funds? For instance, the mower, did we already buy a mower and this is left over, or do we still need a mower for the full list?
Yes, all these projects listed were completed.
Can I ask more than one question while I have the mic, or should we come back?
I gotta let someone else ask a question. We have lots of people. On the floor, anybody, before I go back to the bleachers? All right, up to the bleachers. Seamus?
Seamus Connolly, 21 Ferry Hill Road, Granby, Massachusetts. I really believe that we should vote yes on Article 1, 100%. We've been kicking this down to the curb for over 13 years, and I do believe that West Street School should be voted on 100%. The reason I say it because we have kids, we need to do this. We need funding. The town needs funding, and I 100% agree with the Finance Committee, the Select Board, and the Town Administrator, and I believe 100% that this needs to get done. It would give us federal funding. I've also inquired, after watching the Finance Committee meeting, from our state rep's office and our congressional offices, that they said we would receive federal funding if we did so. And I have their number on speed dial just to let you know. So I would just advise everyone just to vote yes, because that is a thing. It is better if as you said before, the council and agent doesn't want to rent it out to us, they want to sell the building. So we would be much better off if we just vote yes on this, because we will receive funds, and our kids definitely do need structure. We need a senior center. We need a town hall. We need to make it easier for businesses in this community, and I would ask everyone, in the spirit of Christmas, to please vote yes, and don't be a Scrooge.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the floor before I go back up right here in the aisle? Mr. Srini?
Hi. David LaPlante, 341 Bachelor Street.
Can you stand up, please?
David LaPlante, 341 Bachelor Street. I was a contractor, and in this scope of the money that you have, I see no money to actually do the renovation in the building. I see nothing for floors, insulation, office space, furniture, nothing.
Can someone from the committee answer that? Mr. Tromke? Right here, you can come up to this.
Jim Tromke, 290 Taylor Street. Yes, there is funding in there for flooring. Part of the abatement was to remove all the tile that was in there. We're not doing we're doing a soft renovation. So we're not going to be knocking down walls or anything like that. We're going to be using pretty much the space as is, with the exception of making it safe and removing all the hazards.
Right here, Rich.
Rich Domaraki, Bachelor Street. if anyone agrees with what this lady said, just vote no, and then we could proceed along what she said, which makes a lot of sense to me. Anyways, I had a couple questions. When you look at the budget, it says miscellaneous, $1,028,000, and then it has pennies, 32 cents. Now, that's not a true contingency fund. If you look on the bottom, it says contingency, 123,000. So what is in that amount? How did that amount come about?
Rich, okay? The 32 cents is to equal the funding, okay? It's just the balancing factor on the 32 cents. The $1 million is for the items that we didn't get a hard quote on, okay? When we list the sprinkler system, we had, I believe it was Fire Tech come in and give us an actual price to install a sprinkler system. For the windows and doors, we had Lizotte Glass come in and give us an actual quote. Those numbers are hard numbers. The ones we don't have a hard number on is the carpeting, things of that nature, the painting, things that we really needed an appropriation to be able to bring a engineering firm in or an architectural firm in to give us a better feel. But we looked at that and we feel the $1 million will cover those items that aren't currently having a hard cost to it.
Do you have a list of what makes up that million? Because when you look at it, it's about a third of the total project, miscellaneous. Now, even John LaBera just said you didn't have the money to hire any professionals to give you good, solid quotes. So do you have a list of what makes that up? Or is it just a guesstimate?
Based upon the people on the committee, we talked this out quite a bit. We have someone on the committee who does this for a living, going and doing renovations. And it was a figure that the committee felt comfortable with the items we couldn't get a hard quote on.
Okay, and I just want to make...
Rich, I gotta have someone else ask a question, because it's really one question per, so
Okay.
hold your thought. I'll let this lady over here who wanted to speak a second time, do you still have a question? I'll let her speak up, and then we can come back to you. You got it. I can't name and wait for the mic.
Heather, 544 East State Street. So before I ask my question, so you're saying you don't have a list of items? Because that was his question.
No.
Okay. So my question is, it was stated that the oil tank, if there was leakage, that it would be cost prohibitive for this project. So my question is, what happens if that is step one and it is cost prohibitive? Are these funds then allocated all towards the oil tank? Is it stopped and then there's another vote? What happens if the oil tank is cost prohibitive? Or even just more than we budgeted?
Thank you. Anyone of you?
Kevin O'Grady, 62 Amherst Street. The whole, like John LaBera said, we're putting all this money into that account. We're hoping that we don't have to spend a huge number on that oil tank, but if we have to, like it was said at the other meetings, this is a town problem that needs to be addressed. So we'll use that money, and then we'll come back and say, okay, this is what it costs for the tank, and see what we have left and try to do what we can with the project, or start back at square one.
Madam Moderator? Can I just say something to
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, on part of regarding the oil tank, actually I was talking with our oil supplier today, and he doesn't seem to think the tank is leaking, because when he stuck the tank back in the springtime, it was at a certain level. When he came in the fall, before he filled it, he stuck it again, and it was the exact same reading. So he doesn't seem to think there's any leakage in there, that the tank is leaking at this point in time. Okay, so we're confident that we're not going to have leakage or contamination of the soil. And I did talk informally with a retired engineer, and he seems to think the soils there may be more clay than sand, and clay would retain or stop any potential leakage from escaping from the site.
So just to clarify, the response to my question was that if this project is approved for $5.6 million and it costs up to $5.6 million to replace that tank, as much of the funds as needed to replace the tank will be utilized on the tank first without any revotes?
Yes.
Even though we don't complete the full project as we voted?
Yes, because the tank is really a town issue, and that would take precedence over the completion of the project.
Over here on the floor.
Thomas Roussel, Carver Street. If we spent the $100,000 to remove the tank and at that time discovered there was leakage, would the town's insurance cover that policy? No. Thank you.
Go ahead. Wait for the mic.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Joe Fernie at 154 Taylor Street. A couple of quick questions just about the building, and I'll just throw it out and you can answer it. Is it insulated? Do we know if we need a new septic system? And what about the condition of the plumbing? Because this is, I think, an 80-year-old building or something. Thank you.
Can one of you answer that?
Yes, there is insulation. There was insulation installed in the roof when the roof was replaced. I don't know how many years ago that was, 8 years ago?
2011?
2011.
Nothing in the walls, right?
No, again, we're not, this is a soft renovation. And yes, we would figure some numbers in there for plumbing. We're not gonna need as much plumbing because it's a change of use. We're going to municipal offices versus what it was used for before as a school.
I'm going to come back to Rich because I stopped his questions. Do you still have your questions? Are you set?
No.
No, you don't have questions?
No, I'm not set. I just want to make sure everyone understands. They keep saying that your taxes will not go up. Technically, they're correct. They will not go up, but they will not go down either. All the money that's coming from these other separate funds, these separate accounts from prior years, comes from taxes that all of us have already paid. That money didn't come from thin air. So consequently, that money can be used to reduce taxes. It could be used on the schools. It could be used for any purpose we vote on. So I don't like when they say it's not going to cost anything. There is a cost. The cost is how much money we're spending. We're taking from taxes that we have paid in prior years, and we're using it for this project. I'm not saying the project is bad. I'm just saying I just like everybody to understand that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right behind him, stand up, sir. No, not you, Seamus, not yet.
Yes, Paul Piquette, 17 High Street. The question about the septic system wasn't answered. I'd just like to see if that be answered. What condition it is, and when a homeowner buys a new home or renovates, they have to have the Title IV or Title V. Did anybody check the septic system and see what shape that's in? Because that's going to be a major problem too if that's not up to grade or if that's not operational. I'd like to know that.
The committee has been using a engineering firm, on-site engineering, to look at both the septic and the well to make sure that they meet DEP requirements.
So that's been tested thoroughly and is up to the codes?
I don't have that answer right now, Paul. My issue is we have an engineer who is talking with DEP, and they're keeping us apprised.
Okay, because that's a big issue in this vote here, because if that septic system isn't up to code, it's going to cost an exorbitant amount of money to replace.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
Further comments? in the floor, right here behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like...
Can I have your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Robert Mikolajczyk, same as it was last time. Okay?
Put that mic up to your mouth.
Amherst Street. And, you know, the town really needs a town hall. I mean, we've been putting it off and... Farther away?
Up.
Closer. Oh, okay. All right. You know, and there's a little bit of nostalgia here. You know, I mean, looks like most of us already went to this school, all right? Now you can bring your grandkids when you go to pay your taxes and say, hey, you know, this was my classroom, you know? I mean, that's part of it. And I don't think there's going to be any cheaper way out in the long run, because I know when I go to pay my taxes, I say, well, what building do I have to go to? And it's real kind of a pain. And, you know, even if they could even leave the blackboards up, that would be nice thing. No, you know, you're going to go pay your taxes and they could write on the blackboard, all abatements have to go to the assessor's office, so you wouldn't have to ask the question. You know, that's just, I'm just stating an opinion here of the options for it. Thank you.
I'll ask for Micheline over here, and then LaPlante next.
Micheline Turgeon, 54R Ferry Hill Road. I just wanted to advise you guys, when you guys saying selling the property for the well and the septic system, the town still owns it, so it's not a change of hands, it's just a change of occupancy, and we're still gonna have it tested to make sure everything's functional for the building itself.
Mr. LaPlante first.
David LaPlante, 341 Bachelor Street again. I keep hearing this soft renovation, but where's the money to make all these offices and everything? I don't feel you have all of that in there.
Micheline Turgeon, 54R Ferry Hill Road. Just be advised, all the offices will be using their own furniture. We just have to renovate the room itself, like I said, soft, like the painting and required, and maybe some walls or space like that, but they're bringing all their things with them. There's not a lot of things needed. We've already discussed this with a lot of the departments.
Oh, over here in the to the left, on the bleachers. Yep, you. Wait, yeah, okay.
John Matthew, 288 Taylor Street. I don't want to throw a wet blanket on this meeting or this project, though there are some difficulties in this project that bother me, especially the storage tank. The group here has known that oil tank could be a problem. I'd like to ask them, have they made an appointment for someone to check that oil tank? Because that is the game changer, and it also could cause harm to people living by that school, right? And no appointment with anyone to check it out, that's a problem. But here's why I'm talking. 6 months ago, our finance committee said at a town meeting, quote, Granby was spending much more money than was available from the current income of the town. A paragraph down further, the financial situation is now worse. Now he was referring to what's coming down the road. We all know what's coming down the road, either a new high school or a renovation. That's going to cost millions. I'm suggesting that a lot of this fund here, out of this $5-6 million bucks, be put aside in a high school stabilization fund for the future. And each year, contribute a significant amount for that, because it's coming down the road, and that money that we're putting into this fund would soften the blow in terms of increased taxes, because it will increase our taxes. All right? We could take a couple million from this proposal here, and also that 1.8 million from the opera funds. The city of Springfield had $127 million to distribute. What they did was they held meetings all around the city, all their neighborhoods, and they asked townspeople, how would you like to spend that money? They got hundreds of projects. I would think that if this town asked our residents, how would you want to spend that $1.8 million, we could have scores of projects. Could renovate that baseball field down at Brown and Ellison. You could upgrade that nice park, Dufresne Park, with walking trails, whatever. You could have better stop signs with those flashing lights, right? People talked about that. You could get a new cruiser if need be later on, right? But the point is, the financial situation is now worse, and that's from the chairman of the Finance Committee.
Okay, let me get your...
That's 5 months ago. I would like to ask him, in the last 5 months, what changed where our town is no longer spending more money that they're taking in?
All right, thank you.
John Libera speaking for the Finance Committee. Thank you for the question. And by the way, I looked at the article that you mentioned to me at that last information meeting, and what I was talking about was at the time, one of the articles voted at that town meeting was to take money out of, I think it was one of the stabilization funds that was not the operational stabilization fund, either capital equipment or buildings, and used it for operational purposes. And that's what we're referring to as something that was very worrisome to us, that we were using money from these capital accounts for operational purposes. Now, if you ask me what I would like to do with the 1.8 million ARPA funds, I would say build a town hall. That seems to me to be a very good project. What has changed is this. None of this money was really available to us before. It was tied up in these different kinds of buckets that were not available to the town unless the town voted specifically to move them into a different kind of financial situation, which is basically one of the things that's happening here. Is all these funds are being consolidated into one spot, and now they're available, easily available, because it's all coming from one spot. But the other thing is this is a capital project. Capital projects are always different from operational projects. When you look at the ongoing income from a town and you think, all right, we're going to have this much income coming in every year, and we know that we have to operate the town. We have to run a police department. We have to run a fire department. We have to run a building road operation. We have to run a library. Those are the operational things, and money that you don't have, that you're spending continually on operations, is going to kill you. Capital projects are different. Capital projects you should really think of as being, well, we're probably going to have to spend additional money for that. Money that would be above and beyond what we're using on an everyday basis, and they come in bits and pieces. We spend $60 million on a school here. We spend $5 million on a town hall here. We spent however many $1 million it was, $2 or $3 million on the library. We spent a certain $8 million on public safety complex, something like that. Those are special things that are capital projects and are not the day-to-day operations of the town. You think differently about capital projects than you do about operational projects. You think differently about buying a car than you do about your monthly budget for food. They're getting to be about the same, but nevertheless, that's a different way. It's a different way to think. They come from different pockets of your mind of thinking about it. So that's what I think is one of the big differences, that we're now talking, this is really a capital project for the town, and a capital project which has been a long time coming. Thank you.
Lisa?
So let's just
wait for the mic,
yes.
Please.
Lisa Petralia, 6 Common Street. So of the 5.6 million, about $1 million comes off for OPM, for designer, architect, and then some contingency. So that leaves about 4.6 to do the soft renovation, albeit with $1 million miscellaneous, which could include oil tank expenses. But if you take the 4.6 and we only need 16,000 square feet, at least right now, that means about 63% of the square footage, which is the 28,000, we are going to fully abate, also do fire suppression, do HVAC, do windows and doors. So that's about $2.9 million to create an upgraded warehouse for a little while till there's future phases to expand with other town objectives and funds. The question I have is, has anybody on the reuse committee and in the finance and town administration thought about when those additional phases might come online, what they could look like, and how would we fund those? Thank you.
You want me to comment?
Granby does not have a long-term financial plan. We're a small town, hasn't really felt necessary in the past. It's seemed to me to be becoming a little more necessary as inflation has taken off. Those of you who remember the last rounds of high inflation know what a toll it takes on operations. And I think that unless we get things in check pretty soon, we could be facing a lot of the same issues. Nevertheless, without having a long-range financial plan that would try to answer questions like that, I would say that Granby would do what it's always done. That is to say that when there are things which are absolutely necessary and they reach the breaking point, Granby finds a way to take care of it. Capital projects, again, are different. Capital projects, you have to think in terms of what you're doing long range, and you have to think in terms of how much money you're willing to take away from other possibilities of the use of that money. So again, I said we have no long-range plan, and I don't know if one is in the near future for us. If the bylaws are ever amended or ever consolidated, there's a chance that we would put within the bylaws that Granby, even a town, a small town as we are, should have a long-range financial plan, but we don't right now. So I think that's about it what you can say right now. Thank you.
So there's a few people over here that had questions. Okay, right, I see you now. Go ahead and stand up.
Okay. At the end.
Okay,
wait.
you first and then the guy in the back.
All right, sorry. Mike Slater, 191 School Street, Granby. So just to circle back to my other question, I appreciate the clarification on showers. So the air inside the gymnasium, if we allocate this $1.3 million somewhere else, is A, safe for our students? And then B, if the showers are a requirement to designate that space as an emergency shelter, what is our town emergency shelter plan if that building can't be done? Here you go.
No. Can I answer it?
Do you know the answer?
The answer is we cannot spend that money for 3 years without being committed to renovating the entire building for $13 million to come up and meet the ADA standards. And so that's why we couldn't do 2 projects, because the value of the school building at $4.1 million, those 2 projects exceeded the 30% limitation without triggering other state requirements to rehabilitate the entire building. So that's the reason that you can't do that.
So behind you, there was a gentleman. Yep.
Mike Buckley, 7 Hubbard Drive. I kind of hesitate to ask this because I'm afraid it might have been answered already, but about 40% of the money that might be used for this project is ARPA money, I believe. If that isn't spent fairly shortly, it might have to be returned to the federal government, I think. Would you confirm that? And that doesn't make it a very good sum of money, if that's true, to put in the stabilization fund for a school somewhere down the road or a renovation down the road. It could be chopped up into a lot of little projects that would have to be done fairly quickly, because and this is the question I need answered, will that money possibly go back to the federal government a year from now or 18 months from now?
Yep.
All right. In regards, excuse me, in regards to the Arbor funds, so that is current money that we receive from the federal government. There is talk and possibility that the federal government has said if you do not use the funds, they will take it back. Nothing's been set in stone in regards to that. It's more just information that's been out there. So it is a possibility. The federal government gave it to the cities and towns and state, well actually the states to use. So if people are not using it, it is a possibility they may take it back.
Seamus, come on down.
Oh, sorry. Seamus Connolly, 21 Fairhill Road, Granby, Massachusetts. I understand we are having a debate about this stuff. It is true the high school showers have not worked in decades, probably about maybe 50, 40, 30 years maybe by this point. And I understand some of you are concerned about these emergency scenarios. What if we have to take shelter at the GHS? I think that'll be handled when it is handled, if that were to take place. But I do believe that we need to vote on this West Street thing. It is essential that we have a town hall. We have seen, some of you, I understand, have your concerns. I have my concerns as well. But I also understand, I understand that many of us are going to be on this earth a lot longer than most of you guys. And that is a very, 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 very concern that that I do not want to be driving up to, or Ubering up to,
The annex is what you're trying to say? So wrap it up, Seamus?
yeah, like, I don't want to be like having to walk up a big hill just to do my taxes or to do this or that. I think we need it in one building. And I believe, and I 100% agree with the select board, with the finance committee, that we need to vote yes on this. It is apparent that we do so because future generations will be looking back at this moment in 2023, 100 years from now, when each and every one of us, maybe except a couple kids that are here tonight, will look back at this. And I have a much bigger influence on them than the grandparents, just to let you all know.
All right,
so vote yes.
There's a woman right behind him that hasn't spoken yet.
Jennifer Bartos, 97 Porter Street, Granby. I just would like to clarify Mr. Fernia's remarks about the $13 million for ADA renovation. I just sat with the select board, and the finance committee chair was there as well, that we're going to be working on that. We don't actually know what we don't know about ADA, so I'm concerned that that number is there and it's being known and it hasn't been communicated. Oh, also, I'm the chair of the school committee.
Duly noted.
On the floor here, Mr. Randall. Oh.
Thank you, George Randall, 52 Taylor. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight and making your comments, pro or con. Very interesting meeting. Madam Moderator, I'm prepared to call a question.
I have one last.
So in order, when someone asks to move the question, I need a second. And in order to, moving the question means he wants a vote. He's heard enough discussion, pros and cons. In order to move the vote, we need a 2/3 majority to agree with him. So all those in favor to move the question, please raise your cards. Thank you. All those opposed? So moving the question passes by a 2/3 majority. So at this point, we're going to vote on the motion as drafted. It requires a majority to pass. So all those in favor of Article 1 as moved, please raise your cards.
Madam Moderator, before we do that, some of these funds were approved through stabilization, which requires
No, none of the funds require a 2/3 majority vote. It's a total majority vote. So all those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. All those opposed, please raise your cards. The motion passes by a majority. The moderator will now call for a motion to dissolve the special town meeting. Second. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed, thank you for coming.